The only bad thing about Superman is that it made me like Superman. Clearly based on the shirt, because I don't own a Superman shirt. I've never been the biggest Superman fan. When I was a kid, I loved Superman Returns. I was like 5, so what could there not be to love? I had all the toys and everything, but that was the only memory of Superman I ever had because I always loved Marvel a lot more and Batman. So those were my world of superheroes, and I never really liked Superman because he's just so OP and he's so old, and I just found him kind of basic. That's not a problem with the new movie though, because they've given him a complete personality. They've brightened up this new world for the DCU. They've added friends and a team that he can work with. He's saving civilians. It was amazing, so let me get into it. First of all, David Cornsweet had not very big shoes to fill, but he took this version of Superman that James Gunn wanted to make, and he did so well with it. It made me really excited for this new world and whatever Batman and whatever Wonder Woman they do. He just looks the part, and he's funny. Something I really loved is how it's 2025, so we've got phones and social media, and that's something that Superman never really uses. You've got the journalistic stuff that's always been just writing stories and stuff like that, but now in a world full of social media, the fact that James Gunn utilizes that for this really old character and fully modernizes him in probably the most modern versions I've ever seen. I'm sure the TV shows have some modern takes, but as far as movies go, this really modernized the character. There's really relevant themes for 2025 as well, such as the war and things like social media, like I said, and the way that they tackle that is just amazing, and you can really see the thought and effort that went into that with the storytelling and the writing of the script. Of course, you can't have it all without Lex Luthor, and Nicholas Hoult as Lex. I don't know what he was thinking auditioning for Superman, but the fact that he did and ended up getting Lex Luthor instead was just an absolute blessing because he was so good. He's cruel and he's sinister and he looks the part. There's one scene where he's in the dark and it looks like a comic panel. Of course, the whole movie is like a comic panel with characters coming in, bright colors, cool scenery, whether it's on Earth or in the pocket dimension. It really all just comes together like a comic book, which is something that we've needed. It does take the route kind of the MCU and the Guardians of the Galaxy, which isn't a bad thing because if you want to build a world, that's kind of the formula you have to follow now. So seeing Superman in a world like that, it was great. I mean, he's being a hero. He saves countless civilians in this movie. There's multiple scenes where he just is a complete beacon of hope. And my favorite part of the whole movie is him saving a squirrel. So of course the action's good, the setting up for this new world is really good, and all of the actors are really good. Costume design, the set design, everything with the Daily Planet is good. Don't have a lot negative to say. Now since I'm not a big Superman fan, I'm sure there's tons of lore about these three characters, but my main gripe is that the relationship between Superman and Lois and the relationship between Lex and Lois is very underdeveloped. A big part of Lex, like in Superman Returns, which is right behind my shoulder, is him taunting Superman with Lois, whether he's kidnapping her or he's just talking about her. There's one moment that I've seen people talking about where he says, maybe I'll talk to that person that you keep interviewing, and then he says Clark Kent instead of Lois. So I'm sure this stuff's coming in a sequel eventually, but I feel like there needed to be some kind of establishment between Lex and Lois, because then when she publishes the story about him, it's not really a gotcha moment that it needs to be. It is because it helps defeat Lex, but there's nothing really personal for Lois. She's just doing it to help stop Lex and bring the truth out. It would be good if they developed that kind of relationship more to be able to really throw it in his face as the character. Then there's a dynamic between Lois and Clark, because the dynamic between Superman and Lex was great. That's mainly the focus of the movie. But then when you look at Superman and Lois, like, there's a really good scene near the beginning where they're doing the interview, which I'm sure everyone knows about now. It's very heated, very clashing personalities, and it was really good portrayal. and then they kind of have just 2 more scenes, really. First of all, Clark has 1 scene in the Daily Planet, which I think he should have had some more time with those characters, because they become really important later, but you only see them with Clark once. And then just the general relationship between Lois and Clark, which is the core of every single Superman story, that should have been played on more, because there was only 3 scenes, and they were all good, so it could have been just a bit more to establish that. Considering they took the route of them already knowing each other and already having this relationship established, it makes sense, but I just think more could have focused on that. So that is one gripe, but the end scene with the 2 of them is still really good. Just doesn't feel as quite big of a payoff as it could have been with some more character development between the 2 of them. Those are just gripes with the movie. I still love the movie overall, and I think that once the sequel comes out, obviously we'll see more of that, but I think we need a bit more of the human side of Superman, which is super important, obviously, for that character. For the future of the DCU, I'm very excited. Kind of crossing my fingers that Robert Pattinson is the DCU Batman, but if not, whoever they choose, I'm excited to see that, and I'm excited to see that dynamic with this version of Superman, with the other characters, and I'm just excited for the future of DCU. And that's coming from a lifelong DC hater. Wouldn't say hater, but I've always been Team Marvel. As far as the MCU goes right now, DCU is on top, so we'll see what the future holds for just comic book movies in general, but this was a really good step for Superman. Especially someone who isn't very big Superman fan, like, this was a really fun, enjoyable movie to watch and to just kind of get that character. Seems like James Gunn really does know what he's doing with these comic book movies.
You destroyed the whole Superman robots. I thought I told you to keep an eye on him.
We feed the canine, but he is unruly. And he realizes we are not flesh and blood and couldn't, in our heart of hearts, care less whether he lives or dies.